Welcome to our first edition of 2014 Pittsburgh Sportsline. Happy New Year, folks. Nice to see you all out here in TV land, Verizon 32, everywhere in greater Pittsburgh area, YouTube all over the world, Pittsburgh Sportsline on Facebook, and only in Bethel Park, Comcast 7. I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. We got Chip the Prophet Hayner, Zach Brenner, Little Z, and we got a special guest. Smokin' Jim Frazier is one of the busiest men in show business in Pittsburgh. He's on another show called Championship Chase, last filming for Thursday night. And we have one of the greatest wrestling announcers in Pittsburgh history, Trapper Tom.
Thank you very much. I'm humbled by that introduction.
Thank you. And we have different segments. Tom's a rookie to the show. We have different segments. And we always talk about what's on our mind. And that's our first segment. And I'm going to kick it off with Trapper Tom.
All right. Nothing like a curveball right off the bat.
This is not baseball season, but you got it, and you're hitting it pretty well there, friend.
Well, today, first off, I want to thank you guys for allowing me on the show today. Smokin' Jim,
always welcome.
As you've noted, is a very busy man, in demand. And I am honored and humbled to sit in his seat, a fellow Cal U Vulcan out there.
Whoa.
But it is, the weather today was frightful. The first time under zero in close to 20 years, I think.
Yeah.
My 19-year-old son, he's never seen weather this cold.
And I heard you didn't let him outside either.
Actually, he's a volunteer firefighter at the Castle Shannon Volunteer Fire Department. He was there all day. In case people needed them.
Sure.
So,
Yes.
No, you guys do great things.
Castle
We
Shannon.
appreciate it. I know plenty of the Castle Shannon former firefighters.
That's a big fire company,
deceased
too.
firefighters and present ones, too. It's a great community.
They put on a great fair, too.
Yes, they do.
And the State Representative Dan Miller from the 42nd House District came by today. My son told me he came by with donuts and coffee for everybody there. So people looking out for one another on these cold days.
Absolutely.
As well you should.
Absolutely.
Now, what's on your mind in the sports venue?
In the sports venue. We talked a little bit about pro wrestling before we got on the air today. Last night, a very big surprise. Jake the Snake Roberts, one of the all-time greats, a WWF star back in the 1980s, has been around forever. Made a special appearance last night at the end of Raw, and he did one of his signature moves. He, what I call the snake bath. Dean Ambrose from the Shield was dispatched by CM Punk on the mat, and Jake the Snake, in front of thousands of people, gave a snake bath to Dean Ambrose from the Shield last night at the conclusion of Raw, and what they call Raw Old School. They bring some of the old-time wrestlers back, and it was a big surprise to have Jake the Snake. Jake has had personal demons over the past couple of decades, and if you know anything about Jake the Snake Roberts' history, his personal life, you can probably understand why some of those demons took hold. But over the past year or so, he's really cleaned himself up, and he looked tremendous yesterday and has received great reviews for just coming out and doing what Jake the Snake does best. And that was on my mind today.
That's great to hear, and thanks for handling our first segment
Well, thank you.
right off the bat. That shows you what a class act is.
I've made that same mistake.
I understand, and I don't mind throwing a high, hard fastball either, but you got the curveball. Now we're going to start with Little Z. What's on your mind?
Well, Levine, the Talking Machine, what's on my mind, folks, is we like to have fun, and we do have a good bit of fun here on Pittsburgh Sportsline. But on a more serious note, I want to bring something to the viewers' attention and those of you watching at home. Carbon monoxide poisoning is a silent killer. It's an odorless, colorless gas. And in my profession as a contractor and a plumber by trade, it's my job to make sure that you folks at home are as safe as can be. This weather has never been cold like this in a long time, so that's probably like one of the biggest chances for you to have this by not having your furnace checked on a regular basis, not making sure that your hot water tank is venting properly, getting your chimney checked out. All these things can contribute to unsafe conditions. And to point out, 2 days ago over in Mount Washington, we were at an old couple's home. They were 72 years old. Their chimney was completely clogged and blocked. On a day like today, those folks might be gone had I not been there to rectify that for them. So I just want to point out to all the folks at home that at Brenner Contracting we care very much, and Pittsburgh Sportsline, that we care very much about your health, safety, and well-being. If you're not around to watch the show, then I don't get ratings, and Dave Cable is a unhappy camper. So it's my job to make sure you guys are as safe as possible, so year-round. So just give me a call if you ever need me. It's free. Just give it 583-5047. Levine will show you guys there.
If you need a graphic, close up. There we go.
There it is.
There it is.
That was his public announcement. Mine will follow after we go to Chip the Prophet Hayner. What's on your mind?
Oh, thank you, Alan. We want to wish everybody a happy New Year, and I'm really looking forward to spending another year enjoying the highs and lows of the sports environment here in Pittsburgh in 2014. I'm really looking forward to a lot of good things happening with the Penguins, with the Pirates, and of course the Pittsburgh Steelers. First thing being that I mentioned the Steelers, one of the things I wanted to make note of that I did not make note of last night on our show at Sips Sports Lounge, Sunday was the 82nd birthday of the greatest coach of any sporting team ever to play in Pittsburgh, Chuck Noll, 82 years young. I want to wish Chuck Noll a happy birthday and wish him many more. And also, we're in the midst of this deep freeze, and what the first thing that was on my mind when I woke up this morning?
I don't want to know. This is a family show. Easy, guys.
38 days till spring training. The pitchers and catchers report in 38 days.
Could have guessed.
But, I'm thinking spring, I'm thinking warm, I'm thinking baseball. But do you want to know what's on my mind?
After that,
Yes.
So many things happen in the world of sports that just absolutely baffle and befuddle me. And, there are some colorful characters, to say the least. And one of the more colorful characters during his playing days was noted for his different hairstyles and his multitude of tattoos and piercings.
Are you going with the worm?
Yeah, I'm going with the worm, Dennis Rodman. What is wrong with Dennis Rodman? I wish this guy would just go away. Here's what he's done. He's somehow hoodwinked some of his fellow NBA alumni to go over to North Korea to play a basketball game as a birthday present to Kim Jong-un. And, and here is a guy that has threatened nuclear attacks on the United States of America, who is holding hostage an American citizen right now. And, he's got these guys going over there playing, and they are a little embarrassed at this point, and I don't understand why they don't just pack up and leave, because they didn't realize the premises or what really goes on in the worm's mind. Yesterday, he started spouting off all this stuff, and Charles Smith, who was a All-American at Pitt, played for the New York Knicks in the 90s. Yep. He's ashamed that he went over there with him, and but yet he's still going to play, and I don't understand why he just doesn't.
Because he's there. Because he's there. Where's he
going to go? How's he going to get out of there quick?
Can he leave? That's my question.
Correct.
Can he leave?
Right.
So I think this is just nothing but a publicity ploy by Dennis Rodman, and I wish that nobody would pay any attention to it, and somebody make this guy go away. I can't believe that good American citizens would buy along with this. And then when they talked about while you're there, and since you've got Kim Jong-un's ear, what do you think about saying something to get the American citizen back that's being held hostage? And he starts spouting off that he doesn't give a blah, blah, blah about him and this and that. And I just think it's a disgrace to sports and a disgrace to athletes worldwide. But that's what's on my mind.
Thanks, Chip. We'll revisit some of these things, and that's one of the main reason why a lot of these athletes aren't our heroes, Chip, as we've talked about.
They are not role models.
That's the perfect one. There's plenty of other role models in your families and, soldiers and the armed forces and just parents and everything else there for you. And thanks again to Brenner Contracting, a.k.a. Little Z, for your public announcement. And I have a couple with the pets out there. For all you people that have pets, I know the ones that are pretty good, they're keeping their pets in the house. You don't want them going out and suffering that extreme weather out there, and take care of those pets, and don't leave them in your car either when it's freezing and below zero too, so don't forget that. And one of the things I want to bring up on my mind is, one of my prayers was answered this past year that the BCS is finally over. That was one of the
Thank God.
one of the most sad things in sports history. Now, the playoffs are not going to be perfect in college, and I know they're going to have to work to get better at it, but I like that concept better than what they've done. Now, will it be as good as the BCS for all you people that like it? No way. So we're not going to have that same circumstance. That's a little sarcasm for the new year. You know, we always get a little bit of that. And as far as the game last night, my esteemed friend who can't make it here, Smoking Jim Frazier, he's a known gambler. We don't condone gambling. But he said this was a lead cinch pipe bet. Now, he forgot to tell me if he was giving the points between 10 and 12. But when you only win like they did last night by, what was it, 3?
3.
So I think it's a
We don't
loss.
condone gambling on this show.
Never. But we're still confused as a public here on why they talk about the gambling line out of Vegas for the NFL and other sports. I mean, you name a sport and there's a line. We'll have to talk about that on another show. Maybe we'll have a segment of that. But I did want to give a couple more announcements. I ran into Don Campiti here from Campiti's Pizza. He sends his regards to Pittsburgh Sportsline. He met my son. Drew ate one of his pizzas. He said it's in the paper bag. And Don's like, yes, it is. And he actually shut down yesterday early because of the weather, because he didn't want anybody being, in jeopardized with that bad weather. So he did say hello. He says, my wife is one of your biggest fans. She thinks you guys are the greatest. And I take that as a compliment because she said we're some of the most best-looking guys in the city. So thanks, Mrs. Campiti. We appreciate it. And I had to give that. Now, another friend of mine, they have an event in God's country at
Where?
the Monroeville Convention Center. So you'll see it's called Brew and Chew. I don't know if you can get a close-up of it. I'm having trouble reading through this, but they do have some experts. There we go. If you look at that, there's an event going on 1 to 4 on Saturday and 5 to 8. And they also have, from the Brooklyn Brewery, special guest head brewmaster Garrett Oliver. They also have beer samplings, food tastings, tavern games, live music. I heard there's different sports activities. You guys can go compete if you go out there. Now that's before the KSWA wrestling. It's 6:45 at the Moose. So my public announcements, I don't have a flyer on that. But we do have the announcer, Trapper Tom, in person. So that may come out again. But these are some of the things going on in the area. And this is, again, at the Monroeville Convention Center. And it's called Extend the Holiday Cheer with Pittsburgh Brew and Chew. So thanks for listening, folks. Now we go to our next segment. We revisit what's on our mind. So I'll open it up to the guys for the first time in 2014. Let's revisit what's been said already.
Okay, first thing I want to touch base on is good riddance to the BCS. And
Yes.
I'm going to tell you something else. If there's anybody that can screw up a one-car funeral, it's the NCAA. And if you don't think that the playoff system that they're going to put into effect next year is not going to be a disaster, then you're way more optimistic than I am.
I'm shocked by that.
I mean, the game last night was a really entertaining game. Went down to the last 13 seconds, but, with the miracles that Auburn had in the last 2 games that they played, I didn't count them out until the last second ticked off that clock.
Very true.
But,
I enjoyed watching
it was
the
a
game.
great game. I mean, there just
It was a great game, and that's probably why a lot of people missed Jake the Snake Roberts coming back at the end of Monday Night Raw, because you're definitely not changing the channel with the way those two were going back and forth.
Right.
And that's all you really want when you get to a championship game, is to both teams to be competitive and for it to be a good game, and not really decided
Unless
by
you have a
bad calls.
personal interest in it,
Well,
like it's your alma mater, or you have a kid there, or a relative, and they're playing in the game.
I'm sure the Kamikaze Kid is happy.
Kamikaze Kid was out there. I got many photos.
And I'll tell you what,
Chuck
what
Bonasort.
kind of is nice to see about this game is that the score wasn't 65-64. I mean,
We had ACC and SEC.
They actually tackled a few people occasionally, and the final score was 34-31. That's more along the lines of the kind of football I watch instead of football games with basketball scores.
Well, I kind of knew that Winston was going to be a special player when me and my brother were at the Pitt game, and Pitt got shellacked in the opener against Florida State. So I didn't know they were going to win the national title, but now I'm kind of glad I got to go to that game
he's
and watch
a
that game.
20-year-old freshman, too.
Just turned 20.
Yeah, but I mean, that does make a difference, too.
Hey, call it what you want to call it. The kid still went out there and made plays and won the game.
Well, it's much different when you're 17 and you get into college. Think about it.
He's
Just
20
for a second.
He's 20 years old. He's a freshman. So when he was like 19, 20, when he was in high school,
Hey, he might have had poor
I don't know.
academics.
He was
and he had to,
homeschooled.
yeah, and he had to
He
step
was
his
a
grades
redshirt
up.
freshman.
No, I give
last
them
year.
credit. They're great athletes, and sure, he's a redshirt freshman.
Hey, well,
That
let's give a
happens.
credit to Coach Fisher because in the shadow of Bobby Bowden, he had big shoes to fill, and he came in here in what, like 5 years and won a
Yes.
national title. So I give a lot of credit to Jimbo Fisher down there
Definitely.
in Florida State for getting that program around, and hopefully Pitt can be a little more competitive against them if we play them this upcoming season.
Just one quick note that I had, Al. I think you're the one I think that mentioned a perfect playoff system.
Yes.
I don't know of any sport that has a perfect playoff system. I'm not an expert on collegiate sports. I last paid attention to college basketball when Ralph Sampson was at Virginia.
Whoa.
But
Wow.
Wow.
but
Throwing names.
the NHL, they've always had their own controversies in the playoffs.
Well, when you only
Also
have 4
the
teams
NFL
don't go to the playoffs,
Well,
that sort of makes
in
a
the
difference.
NFL, you know, the officials who are now, you know, full-time professionals as opposed to weekend warriors. They blew a very simple call on that field goal, and that just, you know, there's
And other
always
calls.
other calls as well. There's always been conspiracy theories about point shaving and, you know, things of that nature and results. And during the Cowher administration is when I said that the NFL might be predetermined as well.
Well, I'm a conspiracy
No,
guy.
those old guys in Vegas are that good. They're that good. It's not
I'm
fixed.
just going to tell you
They're
something.
just that good.
I'm going to tell you something. I don't want to throw any water on that. But if you go underneath the layer, just check out about the 1919 Black Sox.
Oh, yeah.
Now, there's little things like that, and nobody was convicted there, my friend. Go through college basketball. Even some of our local legends were accused of that and maybe convicted for that for a year or so. Then they got back in the game. But there's a lot of history. Some people that like to read books like I do during this type of season, like Chip does, and even Trapper Tom, you can delve into that a little bit. But that's a whole nother show. We're
Wish
going
I
to do a
had the time.
special show on conspiracy and fixing of sports. And I don't know if tiddlywinks are fixed, but I think if they're competing for it, somebody's looking for an edge.
But how can the playoff system not be better than a system that was determined by computers?
well, you know, you have to
Many.
take
There's
into
a few
account here.
different
You know, the system that they had, okay, was so complex that even the people that were running the system couldn't explain it to the layperson. It was too complicated. And then, of course, you have a handful of conferences that were part of the BCS. Not everybody was, so it wasn't really a fair system because not everybody got an equal stake in the final dance. Because if you were
But
one
now
of
in
five
the new system
conferences-
now though, with Alabama now would have still gotten a chance though, even taking like when you have playing a strong conference and your championship game is almost like the national championship game in some of these conferences, and
Right.
you lose,
But-
you're out.
But here's what the thing is, you know, and if they want to do it the right way, what they would do is they would take all, you know, each different conference would have their championship. All the conference champions would play each other in a round-robin, single elimination tournament to determine a true champion. Because if you can't win your own conference, you don't have the right to play for a national title.
The only problem, we can't play NCAA football like NCAA basketball because we'll
Exactly.
be playing till May.
Exactly.
And that's one of the problems. So that's not going to happen. When I talk about a perfect playoff system, that's a little bit of sarcasm. There isn't any. All you can do is get close.
Well, why do you have to wait 5 weeks from the conference championships until the championship game?
Hold it.
guys
They're
remember-
student athletes.
So
You guys remember when all the significance played games on
New Year's
for
Day.
football were New Year's Day?
Yes.
Every significant game. It wasn't that long ago, but it's all
Well,
about
plus,
the money. We know
the
that.
student athlete in school, they need the time off to take their tests. That's what I've been told. That's why they have a little
Okay,
break.
and
Now, maybe it shouldn't be 5 weeks, but they are taking tests.
and that is said tongue in cheek.
regardless,
Wait.
like I said, regardless
I
of that,
know.
in those bigger conferences, like I said, when you get the two top teams in the SEC playing, like they play the best competition all year round. So it's not like I don't want to see none of these Mountain West or these jokers from
What
Boise
about
State, Hawaii. Like those guys don't deserve to be in the same
Right, but
same
would you
league.
rather see Alabama in the 10th week of the season playing Tennessee Chattanooga, which
No.
is what they did?
But regardless of that, though, Alabama's still going to play a tougher in the championship. It's not a walk in the park for some of them schools and some of their conferences.
Well, you know what?
It's a flawed
We're
system.
gonna move on with this for the simple fact we're great at arguing, and I'd like to debate this about another hour.
And we could easily do that.
And your
eat up-
points are well taken. Same with Chip. Same with mine and Tom. Everything we put in the mix. So if they can get something together that'd be a lot better than BCS, I'm happy. So I think it's a step in the right direction. Is it perfect? There's no way.
Chip, do you know who any of these guys are that are playing on the basketball team in North Korea?
One of them's name is Vin Baker, Charles Smith.
Craig Hodges,
Um,
sniper from the Bulls.
and,
Yeah.
there was 4 or 5 of them, and then he brought in 4 guys. They called them street ballers.
Okay.
Okay, so they were second and third tier
Yeah.
NBA stars. None of them were ever,
Yeah. Any of them Globetrotters?
No, that was last year.
Okay.
That was last year.
But it's absolutely boggles the mind that a few years ago Dennis Rodman was on one of the talk shows, and he just mentioned that that Kim Jong Un wanted President Barack Obama just to call Kim Jong Un to talk about things. As if he was, as if I went to
He's a
little
diplomat.
Z's house or something like that. Like he was some sort of diplomat, and he's always going over there. And Dennis Rodman
He's
says,
looking
"I'm
for
having
new
dinner
friends."
I'm having dinner with my friend." That's what he says.
And I hope and pray that Dennis Rodman doesn't become the next Secretary of State, because if he does, we are in a world
I would be
of
watching.
trouble.
I would be watching my back. If I
I
was
think
John
we're in a
Kerry.
world of trouble now, and Dennis Rodman isn't the Secretary of State.
If I was John Kerry, I'd be watching my back right about now.
Well, he has better hair than the worm. So John Kerry's good. Well, that's it for our revisit what's on our minds. Now we go to another segment. It's called Sip Sports Bar. What I usually bring up, and I've done last year, is about what's going on at Sips. They have a trivia night every Sunday night. Monday night is Pittsburgh Sports Line, 7:30 to 8:30. We have many interviews, talk a little bit of sports. Great crowd there, great food specials. Somebody, Smoking Jim, I think, mentioned best meatball hoagie ever had 2 weeks ago. Well, I ate it last night. It was pretty good. So I don't know about you guys.
Well,
I
I've
had
had
mine
that-
for lunch today, and it was delicious.
I've had that meatball hoagie before, and it is sublime.
And they have happy hour specials, drink specials, free parking. Tuesday night is Campiti's Pizza Night, 50 cents a slice.
Really?
Trapper Tom, you just go see Brandy, 50 cents a slice there.
Wow.
Wednesday night, it's ladies' night, but we actually call it Smoking Jim's ladies' night. He's up there a lot of times. You have to go up there.
What day is that?
That's Wednesday,
Wednesday
night. Thursday night is the 20th.
Does he hold court over there?
We
Is that what
can't
you're saying?
mention that on air, but he's there.
Okay.
Most of the time, I'm not sure what he's doing, but he is there. And we have wing night, 25 cents a wing on Thursday nights. Mark that down.
Do you know what time that is?
Let me think. I think it's after 5 o'clock. So if you're hungry,
good to know.
you and your son, 25-cent wings. They have happy hour specials, parking across the street. Then after 7, parking on the same side of the street for free. They have other specials during the week. Check out 4 to 7 happy hour, Friday night karaoke, entertainment on Saturday night, plus drink specials, fish specials, a giant fish, which I've had. It's like 2 pieces of fish on there. And that's it for Sip Sports Bar. See you next Monday. We'll have a lot of guests there, getting a lot of rave reviews. People are calling us up, so you have to schedule about a week ahead of time. Even if it's cold. We had a nice cast of characters last night. Look for the video when it comes up. And now we go to, well, I got to cancel the Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac.
Well, to add
He's not here.
To add to the Dennis Rodman.
Okay, this is
We have,
breaking news
We
from
got
Little Z.
Charles Smith.
Okay, here's the
Chip-
players.
Chip mentioned Vin Baker,
He
Doug
mentioned.
Christie, Kenny Anderson, Craig Hodges, and
Kenny Anderson, the quarterback.
Cliff Robinson are the players that traveled with the Worm over to.
Are they getting paid by
this
Kim
exhibition
Jong-un?
game. Actually, they're still getting paid by some kind of company from Ireland. Had put up the money for this event or something
really?
like that, but they pulled out, but still held their obligations. They just yanked their name off of it because it
I don't
ended up
blame
looking
them.
bad.
Because of all of the negative publicity, and Dennis Rodman isn't doing anybody a favor by opening his mouth.
And that doesn't, and we're not even mentioning the obvious, the elephant in the room, as they say. What he's
Who?
accused
John
of,
Tiger Kiger?
what he is accused of doing to his uncle.
Yeah.
That's a little graphic for family television,
Yes.
but it would be remiss for us not to at least acknowledge that there are those rumors
Thanks, Tom.
of allegation.
I appreciate that little update on that. That's instead of any fiction and fact, it was just fact. We
Yeah.
covered the facts. Now, Trapper Tom, I don't know if you've heard this segment, but it's one of my favorite segments. It's called Chip's Trivia Time, and this is the first one of 2014. I've been waiting for 2 weeks now in eager anticipation. Chip, let's hear this trivia time. Come on.
Thank you, Alan. And, everybody knows about my passion for the game of baseball. And I have been eagerly waiting since last year. I have been waiting for January 8th because January 8th, we will be announcing the players who are going to be elected into the Hall of Fame in the class of 2014. And, there are potentially 3 first ballot people that could get into the Hall of Fame. I believe 2 of them are guaranteed shoo-ins. And I'd like to just go over their names and kind of explain to you why I feel that they are worthy of the Hall of Fame. And the 3 people that are first ballot Hall of Famers that more than likely will get elected in this year are Frank the Big Hurt Thomas, who played for most of his career for the Chicago White Sox. He ended up with over 520 home runs in his career. And he was one of the very few players of the steroid era that was never tainted by the steroid probes. So, we'll see what happens with him. He was a very consistent hitter. He batted in the high 290s or 300s for his career, which is a pretty amazing feat. But the 2 that I believe should absolutely be elected in the first ballot would be Greg Maddux and Tommy Glavine, both pitchers for the Atlanta Braves. And, Greg Maddux started his career pitching for the Chicago Cubs. But just to give you some information about why I feel these guys' credentials warrant them being into the Hall of Fame. Maddux and Glavine, they pitched next to one another from 1993 to 2002. So in that 10-year span, they won a combined 347 games. That is the highest total by any teammates during a 10-year period since the Braves' Warren Spahn and Lou Burdett won 363 games from 1954 to 1963. Maddux is, by any statistical measure, a top 10 pitcher of all time, probably a top 6 or 7. He won 355 games, 8th most ever. Spahn, who retired after the 1965 season, is the only pitcher to pitch after 1930 and have more wins than Greg Maddux. Maddux won 4 Cy Young Awards, 5 other top 5 finishes, won 15 games, a record 17 years in a row, and had a career .610 winning percentage. His 3.16 career ERA was almost a run lower than the league average for the time period when he pitched. Let's see here. And his 1994 and 1995 seasons were impossibly brilliant. In those 2 seasons, he went 35-8 with a 1.6 ERA, while the league average was 4.2, a gap of 2.6 in the ERA, which is absolutely amazing. It's unheard of. Tom Glavine, his statistics, he won 305 games with a .600 winning percentage. He is one of only 14 pitchers to win 300 games with a winning percentage of at least .600. Glavine made 10 All-Star teams, won 2 Cy Young Awards, had 4 other top 5 finishes, and he won 20 games 5 times. More times than Pedro Martinez, Mike Mussina, John Smoltz combined. And let me see.
You got so many stats and
Wait,
trivia
Finley-
there. We need a list on that.
Okay, and Mattingly and Maddux both share a record for the most consecutive seasons, that 20 seasons, making at least 25 starts, which is unheard of in baseball.
You say 20 seasons.
20 seasons combined between the two of them. They averaged the 20 seasons, making at least 25 starts.
Wow.
So not only were they good at what they did, they were durable, they could be counted on. Got a few more things here just to go over. As amazing as Greg Maddux, a pitcher, was, his best attribute was location. And the guy could basically throw a strike at will. He was such a good pitcher, and he knew exactly what his statistics were. He walked 999 batters in his career, and he averaged 1.8 walks per 9 innings. When he had 4 games left in his career, he said he knew that he had 999 walks with 4 starts to go in his career, and there was no way he was going to walk 1,000 batters. So he didn't walk anybody in his last 4 starts, just to prove his point.
Now that's an impressive statistic and stubborn too.
Because how the strike zones change from umpire to umpire.
That's almost
and
impossible.
Besides that, Greg Maddux won a record 18 Gold Gloves. So not only was he an excellent pitcher, he was the best fielding pitcher to ever play the game.
You don't think they were a benefit though of having such a great team though? Those guys, I mean, they had a great rotation. John Smoltz.
Well, you know what? They were the core. They were the linchpin of those great teams, because without those two consistently winning 15-plus games a year,
Chipper
the Braves
Jones.
wouldn't have been as good a team.
They had a great manager.
They didn't. The manager didn't pitch. Do you understand? The pitcher's out there on the mound.
Are you guys starting to argue again? Jeez.
What I think you bring up a good point, Chip, is especially with Greg Maddux, shoo-in, no question.
First ballot.
First ballot. You wonder how big of a margin, what are the percentage of voters going to be? Who votes against this guy?
Well, that's ironic, because there has never been a unanimous election into the Hall of Fame, not even the first class of players that was voted into the Hall of Fame.
Do you have the list of who's all up for induction?
Print that out.
There's 30 players up, and there's probably, maybe I would say, 3 or maybe 4 that have a legitimate chance to get elected. I'm saying it's probably 3. It might only be 2.
And then don't they have some other committee that comes to life afterwards
There's
the senior committee, but there's 30 players that can be eligible.
And who votes for the Baseball Writers of America?
Baseball Writers of America and Hall of Fame members. Members of the Hall of Fame do get a vote, we'll see. 2:00 tomorrow afternoon. They'll
Stay
be announced.
tuned.
And
we'll put it up on Pittsburgh Sportsline on Facebook. We're not going to miss it. I guarantee it.
I'm excited to see, because last year, was the first year that Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens were eligible for the Hall of Fame, and they didn't get elected, and nobody got elected into the Hall of Fame last year. So I'm really looking forward to some deserving fellows to be enshrined tomorrow.
Because a lot of people thought that was a protest vote against all the steroid era.
Well, they'll never get in. They'll never get in, because the Hall of Famers themselves are adamant, and I've read interviews about a number of them, that they will never vote for Bonds or Clemens to be elected.
But at some point, that old guard's going to die off, though. And you're going to be left with a generation that has no idea about your generation in baseball.
Well, since we're on this subject, I hate to interrupt, but
I have 2 words to say.
Once they do, well, he signed a death warrant. Shoeless will be in before Pete, because he didn't sign a death warrant. He was illegally thrown out.
We know how he was never.
Well, it's a fact.
But
13 years Hall of Fame averages. People copied his stance. Amen.
Is like
but here's a problem.
Sport.
A lot of these guys that so-called took steroids, they're not going to outlive those old-timers, okay? Because there's a known record of people dying that have taken PEDs.
Oh, okay.
So they're actually not going to outlast these guys.
Well, I don't think a lot of them are taking them to this day.
Well, it didn't matter.
You see a guy like Mark McGwire, who I've seen up close. He's not the.
But
You don't know what went on inside.
What I'm talking about is
inside.
when the voters and the writers, or from my generation, or the ones that are in the forefront, like we don't remember anything from 80 back. Like we have no, unless Chip, brings the old guard.
Or if I bring something up.
Unless you guys bring what all goes way back. You know, Chip goes 60s, 70s. Al covers the 1900s, 1910s,
I remember it just like
1920s,
yesterday.
The old Alleghenies, all that great stuff on the North Shore. But like I said, what's gonna happen though when the guys that when
We have to live
watched,
to find out.
when we watched Bonds and we watched McGuire and we watched Sosa and it was fun. That was like a great time to watch baseball and we loved it.
Mark my words, they'll never get in.
There you have it, folks.
I agree with you.
Now, since I did want to talk some more about BCS, we sort of
Brenner
went over it
contracting
all.
series?
Do you have any more with BCS to go over, or do we cover it?
I mean,
'Cause
as far as the BCS goes, in my opinion, like I said, now you're gonna get two's gonna play one, three's gonna play four, and then whoever wins those two games is gonna go to the national
It'll go
title.
1 and 4, 2 and 3, and then they'll go because the highest seed will always play the lowest seed.
So you feel like Notre Dame really warranted a shot at playing at the national title last year? Because they really didn't play anybody, and then they got waxed by Alabama. So I feel in the current system that's coming in, at least now we would have got Notre Dame out before we even got to the championship game.
What criteria are they going to use to determine who's ranked number 1, 2, 3, and 4? And I'm
It's
asking
still going to
this
be
kind
the
of-
coaches
kind of
pool,
record-
the
yeah.
AP, the Associated Press. They're still the two biggest pools. They're just going to take the computer and the formula and all this stuff out now. And now, teams used to run the scoreboard up for that computer because it manipulated the thing. So all that's out the window now. All you have to do is win, finish in the top 4, and you got a shot. And even if you lose in your conference championship, if you still finish in the top 4, you're still going to play. So there's been plenty of great one-loss teams that would have been a better team in the national championship game, but they lost to Appalachian State the first game of the season. Mm-hmm. Now your year's over for Michigan under the last circumstance. Now you still got a reason to play and play hard. Now you got to finish in the top 4 and handle your business, and then you get a chance.
Well, and I want to see how they have the system set up and how it plays out. In theory, it sounds great, but in practice, we'll see what happens.
What is there to set up? That's going to be the same way that they do it in basketball. The Associated Press and there's two pools, and those two pools determine.
Let's give it a shot. It's better than the
top
BCS.
25.
We killed this thing already, folks. We're not trying to bore you. Hope you found it interesting. If you want to call 412-831-3304. We're looking for our first caller of the year. Again, you can call us up till 8 o'clock. We'll 5 to 8. 412-831-3304. Now I wanted to go to Penguins.
Yes.
Because it is Penguin season here, and the Penguins just won their 12th game at home. Tonight you can watch them. They're playing at 10 o'clock. So you have plenty of time.
We got some Olympians, too, to give some shout-outs to.
Definitely. The whole team's starting to get on there, the different teams from different
How
countries.
do you guys feel about Fleury and James Neal and Letang getting snubbed from the Canadian Olympic roster?
Personally,
Aside from Fleury.
I'm very happy to hear that Marc-Andre didn't get elected to the team, and maybe for selfish reasons, because Mark has been the workhorse of the Penguins. The Penguins would not be one of the top teams in the league right now without the play of Marc-Andre Fleury. He's been playing lights out. He could use a rest. We're going to need him down the stretch, and having these games off will be real beneficial. It makes me scratch my head why James Neal is not part of the team. Chris Letang, I don't think he's deserving of being on the team this year. He hasn't played enough. I mean, he's been injured, and there are people that have been playing very, very well. Tip my hat to Sid and to Chris Kunitz. They both made the Canadian team.
Brooks
Jokinen and Ole Mata made it for the Finnish team.
Paul Martin.
Evgeny Malkin made it for the Russian team, and we've got some representatives for the American team. So it'll be interesting to see. But I just hope that they make it through unscathed. The international game is a little bit different than the NHL. They play on a bigger ice surface. There's no fighting.
There's minimal penalties.
Speed
really.
and puck handling skills are the two things.
But it is still a contact sport. My thought on it is, I'm selfish and I'm Pittsburgh centric, that our players need a rest. Some of these guys. I'm happy a guy like Neal, he could be out of action and get hurt at any time.
I never put much thought into not playing, for trying to avoid injury, because guys get hurt at home. They slip and fall in the tub.
That's all right, because Brenner contracting will pick them up. But my problem is I've seen it happen so many times where somebody's played and they really want to win for their country. Hey, that's great. If you can get in, but they're not in. To me, I'd rather everybody be on the team because if you have the best, that's what you're doing. But if you're not, I said I'm happy about it because there is no risk with that. It's minimal. And to me, a guy like Kunitz, what is he, 33, 34 years old? The way he plays hockey, we need him the rest of the year. That's how close our team has been the last few years. It's an injury or
So
two
you
away.
have selfish reasons for wanting
Yes.
these guys to not get
Yes.
to
Yeah, I do.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I'm a sports fan.
I want to see a
I'm not
parade
playing the sport.
downtown in June. I want to see a parade, and I want to see that cup being raised.
And I'm a fan. I don't know if you guys know it, but I'm a Pittsburgh sports fan.
Well,
so
I don't
these
know
are
if you see
opinions.
that thing right there behind you that
I
my
can't.
grandfather's
I'm
put it on
looking
the line
forward
for.
there. I can't see
But
it.
that American flag right there, to me, like there's
Not
no,
this one.
there's no.
It wasn't
you know,
this one, buddy.
th-
It
that's
goes
not
without the gold lace here.
There's
Just
no
so you know.
better.
It's not supposed to have that.
There's no better thing than representing your country and playing for your country.
Right, but your grandfather didn't fight for that flag.
Probably,
They changed it.
probably the biggest surprise of all
Check
the
the history.
Olympic hockey, announcements was that Dennis Rodman's on the North Korean hockey team.
Yeah, there you go.
He's the captain, I
Yeah,
heard.
there you go. What's he going to be, the goaltender? No, but to speak about something else that I think we should make note of is Dan Bilesma has tied Eddie Johnston's record for career wins as a Penguin head coach.
And tonight he can pass him.
232 wins, and the Penguins beat Vancouver tonight. He will break that record, but Vancouver's on a bit of a roll right now. I believe they are on like a 10-3-1 run in
We
their
take
last
all
13
challengers.
or 14 games. But that being said, they're 0-2-1 in their last
Is that
3 games.
Luongo in goal for Vancouver right now?
I don't know.
I'm not sure who's been the Nets, but I
Is
know
that-
the Sendine brothers are definitely are the linchpins of that.
They've been great
team.
since they were drafted together, and
Yes.
that's rare. The two brothers get drafted together
Yeah.
and play together, and they're probably going to play together for their whole career.
That's a nice thing to see.
And they'll be
It
playing
is.
for, I believe, the Swedish team in the Olympics.
But I don't think they're ever going to win a Stanley Cup. But that's just my opinion. Some people are never going to the Hall of Fame in baseball. Some people are never going to win a Stanley Cup. And Vancouver just falls in that category.
And that's why we have this type of sports talk here, and we're allowed to have our
Exactly.
opinions here.
That's
when
why
it
they
comes
play
to the
the games.
facts, never let the opinions get in the way of the facts, is what I say, because I argue all day long with people on their opinions.
Well, listen, Vancouver hasn't been relevant since Pavel Bori and Trevor Linden and them boys were up there playing in Vancouver, and that was in the mid-'90s.
Oh, exactly.
So
Well,
you're right.
There are some good teams out in the West Coast. San Jose has been playing very well. Chicago is still a Western team.
This is live TV, folks. So anything can happen. And if you saw anything happen, it really didn't happen here.
No, it was
It's
an
all an
optical
illusion.
illusion.
it's been a long time, though. When was the last time that a Canadian team hoisted Lord Stanley's Cup? I'd have to go Montreal Canadiens.
I think
maybe with Patrick Waugh.
1993 in the Canadians won. I think that may
I
have
think
been
you
when
may
it's
be
happened.
right.
That may have. It may
I know
have,
Toronto's
It
in a
happened
huge
the year
drought.
after the Penguins got knocked out by the. It may have even happened the year the Penguins got knocked
Not
out
the
by the
Islanders.
Islanders.
Yeah, that was painful.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Painful.
don't mention
Yes,
that.
yeah.
Jeez.
As a Tom Barrasso
And
disciple,
everybody
that was
said
painful.
that was the best Penguins team of the three. The two that won the cups. They said that
Right,
team that
was
got
even
knocked
better.
out by the Islanders was the best.
Players
of the
said
Penguins.
that.
You
Yeah.
think Ken Reggett was a better goalie than Tom Barrasso?
A nicer guy.
No,
Better
I
guy.
think Reggett and
The writers
Barrasso
liked him a
complemented
lot
each
better.
other well. Barrasso
It's rare to have a
as a
1-2
human
punch like
being
that.
was a dirtbag, but he was a great goaltender.
Yeah.
He's one of the greatest American goaltenders ever born.
Yes, he is. No argument there. We have an agreement here.
Okay,
It's
Ring
the
the
first
bell.
one of 2014. I got it.
Yay.
I got it out of him.
Ring the bell. Ring the bell.
Green. There's a winner. Now, another subject that just by coincidence we're going to talk wrestling tonight.
All right.
It's strange.
I
It was
thought
on,
we-
it's on my list.
What wrestling?
Wrestling.
Local
KSWA.
wrestling?
This is
KSWA.
Pittsburgh
High
centric
school wrestling?
local
College wrestling?
Moose Wrestling
Olympic?
at the Moose.
At the
Greco-Roman?
KSWA
Moose.
Arena
Yes.
in
Oh, I'm sorry.
Lawrenceville.
Yes.
Oh,
sir.
Tom, this is
Keystone-
your segue. Go ahead.
The Keystone State Wrestling Alliance returns to action this Saturday night. Bell time is at 7:30. New Year's knockout.
Can you give them a little background
Sure.
on what the KSWA
The Keystone
is?
State Wrestling Alliance, KSWA, is Pittsburgh's only professional wrestling organization. We've been in existence for 14 years now. This is our 14th
The only
campaign. Is the only one within the
that you'll
city
recognize.
within the confines of the city of Pittsburgh.
Oh, you got me there.
There's
You're
only
right.
one.
You're right. He's right.
There are
Nice.
what he's referring to are there are regional promotions, none of which are in the
They're
city
not
of
sanctioned,
They're
but
based in the city.
most of them that I have worked at have been great promotions, but none of them. There's one in Allegheny County. The other ones are in western Pennsylvania. There is only one in the city of Pittsburgh.
And this
that's
is
the Keystone-
KSWA.
KSWA,
based out
Keystone
of
State,
Lawrenceville.
based out of Lawrenceville. And this Saturday night at the KSWA Arena, 51st
What a coincidence.
and Butler Street, we will have New Year's Knockout.
What
Which
time?
is what? Your
7:30.
version of the Royal Rumble?
Our version of the Royal Rumble, indeed. All of our megastars are in the Battle Royal. The last three guys.
We'll do a
For the
Q&A.
people- For the people at home, tell the people at home what a Royal Rumble is. They might not be familiar with.
Over the top rope battle.
Over the
royal.
top rope Battle Royal. The only way you're eliminated is when you are thrown out over the
And
top rope.
it starts one at a time. One. Then come out.
Two guys start, and then every 2 minutes, two other guys come in. And then you throw
Is
guys
Lord
over
Zoltan
the
gonna be
Lord Zoltan is
Gonna
going to
be
be
there.
there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tom,
smokes.
to ask you a question, though, I know generally this has always stood true for the major wrestling organizations, but it was over the top rope and your feet have to touch the floor.
Correct.
So you could go over the top rope, hold on to the rope, and as
Swing
long
back
as your
under.
feet
Yep.
don't touch the floor, you're not eliminated.
Correct.
Until your feet do make contact with the floor.
That is correct. You can go over the top, hold on to them, go in backwards. We call it skinning the cat.
Yes.
They do that.
Wow.
Go that way.
Go to see Skinning the Cat.
You can go over the top and land on the apron, and you can go through the middle
What
or
if
the
you
bottom
land on
rope.
the announcer and bounce back
As
up
long
into
as
the
your
ring?
feet don't touch the physical mat
As
on the
long
floor.
as your feet don't touch the floor.
I want to go see what happens with Trapper Tom on the sideline.
We've already talked about this. I think we're going to be in attendance at this event.
There's rumors. We
Steph
already
and I will
heard
be. Steph and I are going
There's
to
rumor it
Chip
might
and
be number
Stephanie
30.
are going there.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in attendance. I've always been a big fan of professional wrestling, ever since I was a child. When the cardboard cutouts and Ringside
Yep.
Rosie on WIIC TV.
That's
with
right.
Chili Billy Cardell. That goes all the way back, and and that's way before your time, Zach. But I've been. I've
In
been
my
a fan
defense, I do
forever.
know who Bill Cardell is.
Yeah.
I think he's in
one
the
of few-
KSWA.
And I'm going to
Hall
tell
of
you, I'm going to
Fame.
tell you something. You guys see a wrestling event; these are great. They're a lot of fun. There's a lot of enjoyment. It's worth the money that you spend. And for $10, you can get into this event. And I'll tell you what, it's a good night out. It's money well spent. And if you don't walk out of there satisfied with what you just witnessed, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, it's a intimate event. From time to time, the WWE comes to town at the Console Energy Center, and if you don't have a couple of $100 to spend to be
What do we spend at your event?
$10 for adults, $8 for kids.
Any refreshments there?
There's adult refreshments in the back as well as soft drinks. There are
Really?
also
Any food?
hot dogs and nachos and snacks.
Any cotton candy?
No cotton candy.
Oh man,
Well, maybe
I'm teasing you on that.
there is
one.
candy in the back.
Just teasing there.
But-
No, it sounds like a great
Can you
event.
give us a rundown of the lineup of the participants that you know off the top of your head that are going to be there on the 8th?
Well, you can always check out kswa.net for all of the megastars. But also a rematch from FanFest from December. There will be a rematch between the new KSWA World Heavyweight Champion, the future Shane Starr, and the former KSWA Heavyweight Champion, Dr. Devastation, Lou Martin.
Not Dr. Devastation.
Not Dr.
He was
Devastation.
on our
He was
show
on
a
our
couple
show
weeks
with,
ago.
with Mr.
Last
Pinevers.
week.
Mr.
His
Puniverse will be
nickname
there.
is Dr. Devastation?
Dr.
He's a big
Devastation.
man.
Oh, yeah.
Not as big as Mr. Puniverse. 369 pounds.
3%
3% body
3%
fat.
body fat.
You know what? It was a pleasure meeting him and both of those gentlemen.
So there's going to be that.
Really
There's going to
nice
be the
guys.
rematch for the World Heavyweight Championship, and as well as the Golden Triangle Championship, which is also held by Shane Starr. He
Is
won
it?
a
Okay.
winner-take-all match in
How,
FanFest
if you
in
say
December.
somebody's watching at home right now and he's in pretty good shape and he's a wrestler, a former collegiate or high school wrestler, how do you get involved in the organization?
That's a good question, because we do get that question from time to time. We always encourage people to go to kswa.net. There is a contact
Again,
form.
every
What
day.
if
you
you
can go
don't?
to
What
that.
if they don't have the internet? Is there anything they can do? Could they come out to the show and walk up and talk to somebody?
Well, they can talk to somebody there.
Who?
They will talk.
Who
Go
are
up
they
to
gonna
the.
talk to?
You can talk to me. Talk to me
Okay.
if that's the case. If you're from the turn of the century and you don't have the internet, you can always come to me and talk.
What
to
if you're a
about that.
brawler? I know some of these young guys that are brawlers. When they go to this arena, I think they're going to go in the ring. So could they sign up that day?
No,
Okay.
no.
So they can't compete that day.
No, nobody can compete.
Nobody
that
off the
day.
street. You
Let me
must
tell you.
train, get sanctioned,
I'm
whatever
gonna tell
else.
you what, people that walk in off the street, it's not as easy as you might think.
Well, I tell you
Very
what,
easily to get hurt.
in 2014, you put me up to the challenge, and I'm coming into the ring. And I'm going to give it all you got.
But
I'm
you know
gonna
what?
put
Get
on
an
the show.
application out, Sonny.
You got it.
What
Sign me
happens
up.
from time to
You know
time
what?
is
I think I have a logo somewhere. We'll put that right on.
what happens from time to time is somebody will ask us, what it takes to become a megastar in Pittsburgh's only professional wrestling organization.
Here, I don't know if you can get a close
I might
up.
not be a
this-
wrestler, but I am.
This
a
is one of the
megastar.
most evil wrestling
that.
future stars. You're going to get to see that. Tempe Moore, who does art for Yins, did this sketch, and
That was
it's Little Z.
There's nothing puny about that guy.
And he's hungry to get in the ring.
But
Always
we get
hungry.
requests from time to time, but then what we do is we tell them to email the promotion and follow through, and 99.9% of the people don't do it.
Hey Z,
What do you want me to email?
I just saw something else. There might be a logo on the back of his robe there. I don't know
Yeah, I
if you
love
get a
it.
close up of that.
It's already on the back of my security shirt, so it's about to be
hold it,
stamped.
wait. This is like a hand in a glove. Anybody see this? Whoa. Whoa.
Interchangeable.
Look at 2014. We got everything there. Anything else for wrestling that we need to know instead of putting Zach in the ring yet?
Well, he did ask. I wanted to try to answer the question. He had some of the megastars that are going to be there.
Yes.
For the Battle Royal, Dr. Devastation, Lou Martin, the Enforcer, Sean Blanchard, the local legend Lord Zoltan is
Not
in the
Lord
battle.
Zoltan.
We gotta
His
see
my
Lord
FB
Zoltan.
friend. We may have to go, buddy.
His tag team partner Justin Sane,
No.
the KSWA World
Not
Tag
Justin
Team
Sane.
Champions, Cedric the Entertainer. No,
Is he
Are
coming too?
you familiar?
Edric Everhart and Tyler Cross.
Are you familiar with a local wrestler by the name of Tarantula?
Yes.
That's a good friend of mine. He's also from Munhall.
Yes, he
Shout out
has
to
a
Dave
nice-
Youngkins.
Has a nice pizza shop called American Pie on the
Very
verge
good
of
steak
Whitaker
rolls.
and West Mifflin. and
Correct.
Munhall.
Just wanted Trapper Tom to throw that out there for you.
Talking
folks.
about big men, the 7-foot-tall Jack Massacre will be there.
Wow.
One of the only guys to ever perform on the
Are
independent
these
level.
names made up by any chance? Because I'm confused on some of this.
Just look him up in the phone book.
One of the only independent wrestlers to ever be larger than T. Rantula is Jack Massacre. Jack Massacre
No
is going to be there as well. Bulldozer from Detroit, Michigan will be there.
Wow.
365 pounds. And
Did you say 365?
365. Not 369.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
He's
Mr.
underweight a
Universe
little
will be
bit.
there.
Mr. Universe tilts the scales.
Mr. Puniverse will be there. And
And he's
Mitch
in shape
Napier.
this year? Because I know he was suffering some injuries, and he did walk outside without a shirt on.
That's how tough he is.
That
right,
is
Chip?
That is
Yeah,
awesome.
Not right now.
Two frostbitten hands, I think he can beat anybody.
And
That's why Mr. Puniverse is my man. You're welcome back anytime when you recover.
And one of the big things about the Battle Bowl is you never know who's going to fill some of those final slots. So you don't know that till you're there.
Well, thanks, Trapper Tom.
Thank
I think
you.
you covered a lot of territory there and a lot of ways that you can sign up. And Little Z might be one of those future wrestlers.
I know we've talked about it. We've talked about it in the past.
That's one of his New Year's resolutions, and we're going to move on. The NFL, every playoff game, every team I wanted, I lost every one of them this year. So I don't know what happened. I guess I was being overly optimistic about the Bengals and 7-point, spread, and they couldn't cover, they couldn't win. So
What's
other
Phillip
teams
Rivers
too.
on? You see what Phillip Rivers on? His eyes want to pop out of his head.
Yeah.
Well, and since we're going on the, about the NFL, and You know, I earned the nickname The Prophet off of making a prediction about
Giants.
the NFL playoffs a couple of years ago. And, you know, I'm going to go out on a limb because we've got the Broncos and the Chargers playing this weekend, and we've got the Colts and the Patriots playing. So, you know what? I'm going to go and stick my neck on the chopping block right now, and I say the Bolts and the Colts will be playing for the AFC Championship.
Come on, Jim Frazier Jr.
And the Seahawks.
You don't believe that. He doesn't believe that in his own mind, folks. He does not believe that in his own mind.
Oh, those are his opinions. Come
It'll
on.
be Carolina. It'll be Carolina and Seattle in the NFC Championship, and I say the Seahawks will win it all.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, folks. I already owe this man one steak dinner. No, I did not forget. But I say we double it or nothing, and I'll pick the opposite of you, and whoever wins more wins. Because I guarantee you that the opposite is going to happen.
Wow.
Of what he just said.
Wow.
So it's on tape.
And
I'm going with the opposite.
And Zach, that's why they play the games.
That's why they play.
And that's why we have opinions on here. If you like what we say or you don't, 412-831-3304. We just got a sign of peace up there a guy gave us. So
Yep.
we're getting close to wrapping this up. Who else wants to predict? Tom, do you want to predict any football? I'm predicting to make it easy while you think. Denver wins the whole thing this year. Peyton Manning gets a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there on that, Al, because it's just one of those magical seasons. And barring the unforeseen, like an injury with Peyton Manning, he's just unstoppable.
Somehow, some way, I think he does it.
There's two gentlemen in New England that have something to say about this still, too.
That's all
one
right.
is
They're gonna
Brady
play
and
the
one
game.
is Belichick.
That's okay.
Let me bring one thing to your attention. The last time a quarterback set the passing record for most touchdowns in a season, okay, ended up 18-1 and didn't win the championship.
And it was
Remember
because
that.
of some lucky things, too,
What was
like a
the
catch
last
against
game,
the
too?
helmet.
Yeah.
Didn't
Yeah.
matter.
And we're
They lost.
we're just about out of time here. I think we're down to the last couple minutes if I take a look. We're down to 2 minutes, so we got some of those opinions in. Tom, you gave us where you're headed Saturday night,
Yes, sir, the KSWA for the New Year's
7:30.
knockouts.
Tell them that address again.
It is 120 51st Street, just off of Butler Street in the Lawrenceville neighborhood within the city of Pittsburgh. Doors open up at 6:45. Bell time is at 7:30. Family friendly, cost efficient for the family.
How much?
$10 for adults,
That's
$8
it.
for
Thank you.
kids.
Z, where are you headed to? What's going on? Might be same place.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to get over to that fan thing.
We'll have to talk when you're out of the painting business and out of the sewers and the fixing pipes. We'll talk before the end of the week. Maybe we can head out there. Chip, I know you're
I'll
going
be down
there.
at the KSW Arena. I want to come down and give Tom some support. He's been more than supportive of us and our endeavor. Wrote a great article about Pittsburgh Sportsline a couple of weeks ago. If you guys get a chance, read that.
He wrote a couple great ones.
Smoking Jim still trying to read them.
I was personally touched by the flattering things that he had to say about all of us.
Right, and I'm thankful for that also. I'm working on trying to get him a special venue where we can post this so then people can go there because it's hard. It's sort of unwieldy for everybody to check it out. Then I can't post it on Pittsburgh Sportsline. Maybe you can send it to Pittsburgh Sportsline so I can post it up there. Yeah, I'd
Copy,
appreciate
paste.
it. I'm supposed to be at this event between 1 and 4 at the Brew and Chew at the Monroeville Convention Center with my friends. Aaron Jenton, the golfer, is also going to be there. So he'll be doing things. There's all kind of fun out there. That's another event I'm at. I want to thank everybody. Dave Cable, thanks for the great job last year. You know, I want to thank everybody for the awards that I received. Producer of the Year for 2013. Also the People's Choice Award. It was the most viewed YouTube on Pittsburgh Sportsline with the unicycles. So I appreciate that. Thanks, John Tiger Kiger, Devin Shea, Aaron Ward, everybody else that's helped us. Thanks to Chip the Prophet Hayner, Zach Brenner, Tom Liturgy, and Al Levine, the Talking Machine. Have a safe night. Stay warm. Bring all your pets and kids in the house. Please. Go Pens.